Hey, welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be speaking about India love. Now, if you haven't already seen my video on terms, pause, rewind, go back and watch it because that gives a little bit of context and I think a bit more hope on what you can do if you are someone who has more of a quiet personal brand or more of a quiet persona. And I say this because she has mastered quiet confidence really well in a public sphere. But aside from that, she also shows how important it is to advocate for yourself in the world, even when people perceivably have more power than you. And I can give actually a pretty clear and personal example. It was a situation where I was working and it was my one of my first professional experiences. And so I went into it thinking I'm here to learn, I'm here to be trained. And I guess with most employees, they hire you, or even this was clearly an internship, they hire you and they think for some reason you're supposed to have it all together straight away. Honey, I don't go into business like that. Okay? I really don't. I always go into situations thinking this is a learning curve and eventually I'm gonna fug it out and then I'm gonna get it. But yeah, I was spoken to in a really demeaning manner and I was made to feel like I was incompetent, even though, like I said, this is one of my first times actually working in the corporate world. And it did take me a while, but I think from that experience, I really learned that no matter what setting you're in, you have to let people know what your boundaries and your standards are. And Thames is also a clear example of that. So that's why I really recommend for you to watch that video if you haven't, because just outside of building a personal brand, having the courage to speak up for what you believe is right and when you believe someone has crossed your boundaries will do you very well in life. And it's not always comfortable, but I believe it's definitely always worth it. And as for myself, I can definitely say since that experience, I now go into situations with much greater clarity on what I will and won't tolerate, especially when it comes to work. And yeah, just personal relationships too. So, aside from that, I think with India Love, it's a different context because one, she's an influencer and not an artist. So, if you're an influencer, just pay close attention in this video because I'm going to be breaking down, some of the things that you might encounter on your journey, just depending on your background, really. And in her case, India Love actually came up, if you aren't familiar with her, she came up in a time where the internet actually suited quiet personas much, much more. If you think about people like Beyonce, even artists, when she came up, yes, she had Destiny Child, but also even when she went solo, there wasn't a need for, or should I say, an incessant need for parasocial relationships. We were quite happy with just seeing them through the medium in which we get to consume the art, whether that be movies, if they were an actress or actor, or if it was through, you know, channels that, display music. And then when it came to interviews, again, they might have an interview in a magazine once or twice a year if they got the slot, or if you watched MTV based religiously or whichever channels hosted interviews with celebrities of your interest, then yeah, every once in a while you'd be lucky to get an interview. And that was that. But if you compare people like Beyonce and her come up with people like Cardi B, then I think it makes it clearer that we are dealing with two completely different ages of the internet. And that's the battle in which India Love finds herself in. She's come up in a time where it was okay to be quiet, maybe just to be seen and to be heard, and that was enough. But now she lives in a landscape and she's trying to make money in a landscape where you, in a sense, do have to do a bit more for people to actually care about who you are and what your brand is. But I think, unfortunately for her, she's chosen a name that is extremely loud and extremely noisy when that probably doesn't suit her strengths or her capabilities or her natural personality type. And like I said in the last video, it's okay to be yourself. It's actually okay. It's not by force. You can still succeed in the modern day world whilst retaining a relatively quiet online persona. And yeah, unfortunately, India Love just didn't. She didn't get the memo. She didn't have me on her team. You see, the people around you are very important. And even along her career, I just don't think she's had the right team supporting her to make the right decisions. But let's get into exactly what made people gravitate towards India Love. So, like I said, she came up on Tumblr, and that's pretty much a cross section between Pinterest meets MySpace meets Facebook, but you have your personal profile, right? You got to do a little bit of coding if you like to enhance your profile. So maybe attracted more, I don't know, nerdy people or whatever. I was on there, so I'm not even trying to say this to be rude, but yeah, you could put your music on your page. It was very creative, very expressive. You could go online and watch theories, and you could just post pictures of yourself if you wanted to. And so I think what happened with India Love is that she didn't necessarily go into this actually wanting to create a brand because again, this is early 2010s when she started online. And around that time, the only way to really get famous was through traditional media, your print medias or your TV or your movies that were in the cinema. And so she's probably just posting her pictures for fun. This picture here is probably like best representative of her look back in the day. We've got the matching red. And speaking of her aesthetic, she leaned heavily into streetwear styles. And she still pretty much does to this day. Just probably just a bit more elevated. But back then, obviously if you love streetwear like myself, you're always gonna love a slogan. Like you're always gonna love a little typey type. But on t-shirts and stuff like that was really big. So I remember on Tumblr specifically, like Supreme was so big, the brand Supreme, and like the Obey t-shirts and just the jerseys and all of that. So it was a fun time. But yeah, she was, I guess, one of the people that was also popularized with the look. And I hate to say it, that's probably the only real strategic thing she's ever done. Like making sure like her clothing and like her imagery was on point. But aside from that, something a privilege that she was born with would be her look, and that's a very big thing that drew people towards her. She is naturally beautiful, and aside from that, she's also racially ambiguous. So that means she's pretty much universally appealing. And I'm not even saying that you can't be universally appealing if you aren't racially ambiguous. That's definitely not true. Um, but I say this in a sense that building a following is probably, well, can be easier. I say this can because anybody can build a following, but it can be easier if you are racially ambiguous. Just because when it comes to who you decide to follow in life, whether it be musically or influencers, it's normally because you sense that they have some kind of relatability between yourself and them. And so when it comes to India Love and her being racially ambiguous, you have the fact that her complexion could be, I guess, relatable to so many different races. There could be a Hispanic person that's like, oh my gosh, she looks like me. There could be a black woman that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm also really light skinned, but I'm black. She looks like me. There could be other mixed race women that are like, oh my gosh, she looks like me. And then black women might not relate to her in the sense of having the exact same complexion, but through her interest, they could be able to tell, oh wow, we grew up watching the same thing, we have the same style, and I still classify her as a black woman. She looks like me. Here, follow. And then there are people that have curly hair. They were like, oh my gosh, she looks like me. So you get what I'm hinting at here. There were so many different pathways for people to find relatability towards her. But at the same time, because she is naturally beautiful, it was almost an aspect of admirability. And that's going to bring me on to my next point. Admirability just easily can also be described as aspiration. So, through no fault of her own, she is naturally categorized as someone that a lot of people would aspire to, whether it's like, I want to look like her, or I want to take photos like her, or I want to be as popular as her. So, all of these different things, is what makes her be someone that falls under the category of aspirational content, whether or not she likes it. But this does kind of come to bite her in the bum, so to speak, later on in life. So yeah, she had that going for herself. And honestly, there were so many different ways that she could have tapped into this. But as I said, I don't believe she was consciously trying to build a following, but it just so happened. Aside from her look making her racially ambiguous, her name, India Love, was also a very powerful part of building the, aspirational bubble around her, so to speak. Now, I don't know if it was a conscious decision. Um, like, I don't know why she chose India Love because isn't her surname isn't Love, her real surname. And I doubt that's her middle name or anything. But yeah, that name choice was powerful because one, it's unique. I've never met another India Love. I'm gonna tell you that for free. But two, it also helped to play into the racial ambiguity because if your name is India, but you're not Asian, what will now start to happen is that people, whether they know it or not, will probably start asking questions like, oh, like, well, where is she from? Like, oh, that's an interesting name. Um, hmm, India Love. Like, who is she? Like, that's such a nice name. And then you have the look that is racially ambiguous. That again causes people to ask questions. So whether this was a deliberate decision or not, what she's doing here and what can be replicated in your case is she's making people subconsciously ask themselves questions about her. She's generating interest, she's generating intrigue. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do because if someone comes across your page or your brand and nothing about you makes them want to stop and wonder, oh, who is she? Like, where did she come from? What does she do? You lost the plot. You lost it. Just start again. Go back to the drawing board. Whether it be your visual identity, or it be your name, or it be just even your singing voice. Like, oh, why does she sing like that? Like, that's interesting. There needs to be something about you that makes you people stop and wonder. And yeah, having India, which is, it's a country, and then having it paired with the word love, which is one of the most powerful things in the whole entire world. Yeah, that's just game changer. Like that's power on steroids, essentially, so to speak. And the reason why having the word love be associated with your personal brand is so powerful, outside of, yeah, let me actually break down why like love is so powerful in the branding context, outside of love just being a powerful force. Love is something and someone, but love is something that everybody seeks and everybody wants. Now, whether or not everyone wants it in a romantic sense, highly contested. Some people say they're happy to be single, but everyone wants love through friendship or through family. And so, if you manage in any way to align yourself with the power of love and the concept of love, then you've almost, in a sense, aligned yourself with self actualization. So, if that isn't powerful, I don't know what is. And because it's something that is, it's something that is regarded in such high esteem, it's aspirational because we all want it, but it's something that we also respect because you have attained something that all of society, all of humanity is looking for. You have attained love. So what else can you do to someone who has attained what you have? You're either jealous or you admire and you respect the person. And another key person that did this really well in the past would be Cleopatra. Now, this wasn't through name, but it was through mental association. So what she did was is that she essentially aligned herself with the goddess Isis. I don't know if she said she was like the reincarnation of Isis during her time or something along the lines, or just made it known that she had a very strong link to the Isis. But Isis was the goddess of love and fertility and maybe beauty as well, pretty much all in the same lump. And yeah, again, the people of Egypt held her in very much high regard and high esteem. So that respect was granted. And then, on top of having the word love in your personal brand name, you also have a very public relationship. So once again, you're displaying to the world, I am love and I am loved. And as a teenager growing up on Tumblr, like I did used to look at them, and I mean, not necessarily like I wanted the exact replica of their love, but she was someone that was, in a seemingly happy and loving relationship. Like her and her partner from her teen years were very much, or at least online, devoted to one another. And it was fun to engage in that content. If you think about which shows go most popular, you have, when it comes to reality TV at least, Love is Blind, Love Island. Sure, there are many other islands, Temptation Island, whatever, Shipwreck, about finding love, or just so many things, like where the central theme really is love. Humans, we love love. And so if you have love, that's why it's so easy for you to become successful when you have like a couples channel. So she was doing couples channel content before couples channels was really a thing. So again, I don't know if that was intentional. Like she knew that, oh yeah, we're gonna get a lot of attention by doing this. I personally think she was just a teenager in love, and then it blew up, and it was like, oh okay, yeah, I guess people like our stuff, and yeah, it was a fun time to be around. But the same thing that can make you is the same thing that can break you. So I'm gonna touch on that in a little bit. But first, let's get to the demise. What exactly went wrong for India Love? And there were a couple of these, but like this is the first point in her career where she made a very fatal mistake. And so a lot of people could probably put her in the same position as Kim Kardashian, where she and her sisters are all online, or maybe her sisters weren't online, but she's a breakout star online, and now an opportunity has presented itself for her to have even more fame, and she's decided to put all of her sisters on. And so exactly what Kim did, and that is exactly what India Love did. Whether it was a case of her pitching to Hollywood execs or the execs pitching to her and her sisters, the Westbrooks, they also went with their actual surname, decided to do a reality TV show on BET. Now, funnily enough, even though I was a fan of her series on, not her series, sorry, even though I was a fan of her on Tumblr, I for some reason did not watch her reality TV show. And that in and of itself says a lot. I probably saw a trailer and I said, yeah, this ain't for me. this ain't selling it for me. And I also remember around the time the reviews are pretty much lackluster, to be fair, probably how the trailer was. And when I was doing my research for this video, I pretty much came across the same notion. I'm so glad it got cancelled after season one. This was horrible. This was so scripted. Oh my gosh, the girls are so mean. Oh my gosh, the girls are so self centered. This just completely ruined her brand. And I want you to think back to what I've just said. All of her characteristics, her name, her look, her relationship, knowingly or unbeknownst to herself, placed her in the category of being an aspirational content creator. Now you've come on TV, BET, and you have shown the world that you have a horrible attitude. It doesn't add up, it doesn't line up. It's almost like your audience is not experiencing cognitive dissonance. It's like what the image I had of you is like not pairing up with reality. You're no longer someone I can admire in a sense because of all the negative traits you could portray. I think being self-centered just for the sake of being self-centered, like, is probably one of the worst characteristics you could portray online. Like, no one really wants to follow someone like that, and no one definitely is gonna admire someone like that because, let's say, people like Kanye, his negative trait would probably be arrogance. That's probably what people would say about him. But number one, at least he has the musical talent to back it up. And number two, at least he's funny, like in some instances. And number three, at least we feel like he's being authentic. If people are now, commenting on the fact that they feel that your show is scripted, not only are you not only do you have the connotation of being self-centered, you now have the connotation of being fake. And to a larger extent, like just doing anything for clout, just doing anything for money. And as an audience, we don't really like to see people just doing anything for money. Like, yeah, it's kind of like the old trope where it's like, I hate when people ask me in interview, like, why do you want this job? I want it for money. So we understand in life, it's like, yeah, of course you have to do things for money. But when you are navigating the internet space, I guess we also kind of we have higher expectations of influencers. It's really sad. Well, maybe it's not, but so if you're going to be online, like, at least be online because you want to be here. Because when I'm consuming your content, which is a form of escapism, essentially, I don't want to watch someone who almost feels like she doesn't want to be here. Like, it's not fun anymore. It's not. So that really shot her in the foot. And I believe that was the breaking point of the India love that we held in high regard, at least for my generation, which would be elder Gen Z and the millennials. And so after that point, we really didn't hear much from her again. And the only time we started to hear from her was probably years down the line. And it would only be in the context as to where she's dating someone in the public sphere. And now, as I mentioned earlier, the same thing that can make you is the same thing that can break you because, for the most part, your audience is women, and we liked you because you're admirable and you display that you are desired for your relationship. But now, the only time we hear about you is when you are essentially in a relationship. And then the men you are in a relationship with, very questionable, like very questionable morals, whether it be, I think largely it would just be on their side, like not necessarily like she's displaying like weird characteristics in the relationship. Like we didn't really know what she was doing in the relationship, but it's just the men that she chose to align herself with. Yeah, like a lot of people would look at them and think that's weird, and oh, he's acting really weird, or maybe the age gap might have been considered weird, or there were just so many reasons as to why her dating choices now made her again someone that we don't necessarily aspire to be or to even want to follow as much. And then to top it all off, I think she perceived that her current audience that she had cultivated from her Tumblr days weren't really working with her. So she decided to tap into a new market. And again, I don't think there was much foresight. I believe what we see here is a classic case of just going for chasing attention and not necessarily thinking of a game plan. And so she went to possibly one of the loudest platforms she could have ever chosen to choose her new market. And I say loud in the sense that something like YouTube is something that you could post maybe once a week, whereas with Twitch, it's constant feeding of the algorithm. And of course, you can do the same on YouTube, but yeah, for someone who, you know, came up on Tumblr, to go to now do Twitch as your new way to tap into a new market, it's very different. Honestly, it's very different. And I believe that she just thought, well, the fame online is with the streamers now, so I have to do what the streamers are doing. And didn't necessarily consider, is this going to work for you know, your strengths, your capability in the long run? Is this something you actually enjoy doing? And most importantly, is aligning with these kind of people going to work well in my favor? If you now have the mindset that all press is good press, it doesn't really matter. I think, again, I think as a woman of color, as a black woman, you have to play the game a bit smarter. Unfortunately, negative stigma tends to stick more towards us, and maybe just as her audience is probably largely made up of black women, We just expect better of ourselves and of women in our community. And if you align with people, and men in particular, who seem to be dragging down another woman who's actually held in high regard within the black community, then it almost makes you like a direct enemy of the sisterhood, so to speak. So yeah, choosing to align with DDG in the midst of a custody battle and allowing herself to be essentially degraded um, by some of the comments that were made by the men during like the stream university towards her or about her. It just didn't feel well again for the public perception that we have of her. And again, I just have to keep going back to this. You are naturally someone who, no fault of your own, fell into the category of aspiration. Then you are choosing to align yourself with people who have questionable morals and values. At this point, your audience is continually now asking themselves, not, oh, who are you? And I want to know more about her. Now it's, I know enough about her. And what I know is that I don't like her or I don't admire her. I don't agree with her morals and her values. She's not giving me anything to aspire to. She's not inspiring in any way, shape, or form. I have no reason to follow her. And even with the younger generation, I don't think most people look at her as, I mean, maybe the look aspect, they might be like, oh, yeah, no, but she looks really nice. Like, okay. But the respect isn't there. And so, what I think she really should do is actually tap into her strengths now. If she genuinely enjoys streaming, sure, keep at it. But I think her best bet at this point in time would actually to be to take a break and actually allow herself to figure out which meaning she'd like to attach to her personal brand. Because someone else who could, fall into this category would be Laurie Harvey. A lot of people like her because of the way that she looks, and because through her various public relationships, she displays that she is a desired woman, and that's admirable. But aside from that, she also has a central message that people can attach to her and say, this woman inspires me in this way, outside of just her looks and outside of just her personality. And India Love unfortunately doesn't have that. See, with Lori Harvey, she has the whole, you are the prize, have high self worth, have high self esteem. India Love has, there's a new girl turning 18 every day. Like, this, that's low vibrational. That is a low vibrational plate. That is a low vibrational plate. And it's not enough, especially in this present day. I think in that sense, like looks is not enough unless you just want to be a model. But if you want to be an influencer or some type of creator, yeah, we're gonna need a bit of morals, a little bit of values that you display, and yeah, maybe she could tap into the whole like maybe she could do a YouTube channel with her sisters and be like the real Westbrooks. Like that might be something. If she really values family, that would be a great way to display it. Aside from that, the kind of categories that I would actually put her in terms of brand verticals would be number one, the products category, because if you are someone who probably doesn't want to be online forever, maybe you are more of a quiet person, and this is just assumptions, like she could actually be very happy with being in our face and talking. And if that's the case, keep being present, keep being online. But if she did want to pivot into something where she could show, I guess, less of her personality, then opening a product line business would be great for her. Now, if you see in this image here, you see the baby hairs? If you also see in this image here, again, she has the baby hairs. I think a great product category for her would be an edge control line. And maybe if she's from California, she could do the whole Cali girl, theme, because even her like personal styles probably heavily influenced by California culture and just where she's grown up. So that would be different. It could be a non-toxic edge control. It could be edge control with Californian, I don't know, rose water, or I don't know, Californian water. Like there are different ways to incorporate. where you grew up. Rihanna does it really well with her hair care line and her skincare line. I believe it's the Kakadu Plum. That's probably native to Barbados, and that also works because throughout the years she's shown her love and affinity for her homeland, and she always goes back for carnival. So it's authentic. It's not just she sprung it on us all of a sudden like I am from Barbados. Yeah, like no, it's genuine. We've seen her love, and so now it translates in the ingredients that she uses in her products. So that's something she could do. I also don't know why she hasn't partnered with a lot of like fast fashion brands or like just even independent black owned brands. That would also be probably the first thing I'd recommend for her to do to repair the damage of the sisterhood. you know, let's work on that. Like I said, take a breather from the streaming, figure out what your message is that makes you aspirational to other people. Like, what message and legacy do you want to leave with the next generation that you have decided that you now want to tap into? Do you want to teach them about skincare or body care and looking after self? Do that. Do you want to teach them about how to be confident in relationships and speak up for you want? Do that. But pick something that makes you magnetic beyond your look. And yeah, align with brands owned by black women and that tap into your own personal style so that people can dress like you. And yeah, like I said, that would repair some of the damage. And then pick better friends and better men in your social circle because no man is an island and she's built this reputation with the help of men. So it's probably going to take her aligning herself with some good men and just some kind hearted people and kind hearted friends that also speak highly of her character so that we can see, hopefully, the real India love that, is kind hearted and has positive values. So if you've enjoyed this video, please let me know. Guys, this is my third time filming this video. I've had so many issues with filming, but I said I have to get it out. Like I have to. Um, and yeah, I did actually enjoy talking about it. Like I spoke about this much longer than I intended to, each and every single time. like each time I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do 15 minutes, and then I still went and babbled on. But yeah, I love this so much, and like I said, she's someone I grew up with, so it was easy to do. Let me know down below if there are any other creators that you want me to do like a deep dive on in terms of their personal brand, what they could do better, what kind of businesses they could build. And if you are interested in creating a personal brand, maybe you're in a similar situation where you just happen to fall on a following for some reason and now you don't necessarily know what to do with it, or you are actively trying to create a personal brand, then check out the link in my description box and I will see you in the next one. Bye.